This week on Not Another Movie Podcast, we get our first look and hear some plot details of Thor Ragnarok.
We get our first reviews coming in for Iron Fist, and it's not looking good.
And in celebration of International Women's Day, we talk about our top 3 female characters in film of all time.
That was so much smoother than last week.
Well, at least we got the title right this time. Alright, welcome back to episode 6 of Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly once again.
And I just want to say what a fantastic job you did on hosting the show last week.
I am a natural. I'm taking offers if other people want me to host their podcasts. Just last week was my resume, so listen to that and then give me a shout out.
Yeah, some of the feedback was really good. They said it was nice that you let the work experience kid have a go at hosting the show.
Oh my god. It's nice to see you guys are equal opportunity employers. That's really good.
Yeah, that's right. Some people mentioned, was this part of the Make-A-Wish Foundation to have you host the show?
Oh my god.
But I actually really enjoyed it. After listening back on it, I thought it was quite good.
Well, it was a lot of fun. But I'm glad to be, you're back, you're home from your holiday, and now we can get back into it the old way, the good way.
Yes. And actually that was one of our most downloaded shows, so... we'll see this week whether the hosting has got people coming back or it's got people dropping off. So
that was just me clicking download so I could listen to myself again and again.
While I was away, you were just like download. All right, well, this week it was quite exciting because this film has been kept in the dark for quite a while, and that's Thor Ragnarok. Yes. We haven't seen really anything. We haven't been given anything regarding the plot, and this week we kind of got the mother load without actually seeing a trailer. We got some photos of what to expect, and we've put them on our Facebook page, and I got to admit, it's quite different to what I was expecting, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through, and I forgot that Jeff Goldblum was in this movie, and then suddenly his face pops up with this like weird bright colored paint on it, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Now I'm even more excited for this movie.
You do get a little firm when we talk about Jeff Goldblum.
Just a little, a lot.
Just a little. But we've seen Chris Hemsworth's Thor with short hair, which is quite surprising because they did like a little mini trailer, which was released on the Doctor Strange, not mini trailer, segment you would say, where Thor is living with a housemate in Australia, and he had his long hair there, which obviously I know it's a wig, but it was a surprise that we are getting this short-haired version of Thor.
Well, there was also the Doctor Strange clip where he was with Doctor Strange in Doctor Strange's what do they call it? His Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yes.
And he had the long hair there as well. So
yes.
I reckon what happens is, according to the plot that's come out, so Thor ends up on a planet where they're having gladiatorial arena, and he becomes a gladiator. Yes. So I assume that they cut his hair off as part of that.
Yeah, and of course, the most powerful gladiator on that planet is Bruce Banner's Hulk, which is very exciting to see those two finally go head-to-head. They've been bantering back and forth over the Avengers films, but now we get to see them go head-to-head.
Well, or they're just going to fight together, as in against other people. I think there'll be a lot of that going on. I've got to be honest, though, reading this plot has me a little bit wary. I'm really excited about this movie, but it seems like there's a hell of a lot to get through in 2.5 hours.
All right, well, do you want to read it out?
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So, we've got Thor. The last time we saw Loki, it seems like so long ago, at the end of Thor 2, Loki had taken Odin's place through illusion magic, and he's now running Asgard. Apparently, he's doing a shit job. And Hela, which is Cate Blanchett's character, who looks awesome, and I cannot wait to see her as a Marvel villain because, she's my favorite. Anyway, so she wakes up from, Loki accidentally wakes her up. She sends Thor to this battle planet, basically, Sakaar, which is from the Planet Hulk comic series, which is friggin' awesome. And then Hulk's there for some reason. We don't know why, but because the last time we saw him, he was jetting off on the Blackbird to parts unknown. I'm sure you'll find out in the film. So he and Thor obviously have to break out of the gladiatorial games, which Jeff Goldblum is running, and then make their way back to Valhalla to fight with Kate Blanchett, which seems like it's like two movies jammed together. Like you've got the Sakaar, because you could just make a fantastic more than one film just about the Planet Hulk storyline. So I hope it's not just sort of jammed in, you blink, you miss it kind of thing.
Well, the thing is as well is that after all of that happens, then it actually becomes a road trip movie between Thor and Hulk. So, that might be the first half of the film, and then the second half of the film might be something completely different.
Do you reckon they bump into the Guardians of the Galaxy?
It's possible. I mean, they are in outer space, and who knows?
Maybe the Guardians are the ones who bring them back to Earth for the next Avengers.
Yeah, that's possible too.
That could be cool.
But Taika Waititi, the director, he actually said that the movie 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte really influenced the road trip part of this film. So that is an all-time 80s classic. So if you do get kind of that vibe, in a Thor and Hulk road trip movie, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before, but if you can't remember the name of that director, he's done What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilder People, lots of really kooky New Zealand comedy. So I'm excited.
Yeah, this guy has his own brand of comedy, and if he can bring this into the Marvel universe, I will be a little firm in my pants. Okay, it'll be you with Jeff Goldblum, and it'll be me with this director's style if he brings that in.
Needless to say, it'll be a very awkward cinema experience. not since we went and saw Midnight Cowboy together, will be so many directions.
This is true. Well, in further Marvel news this week, the first reviews of the first 6 episodes of the new Iron Fist TV show have come out, and they're not exactly glowing.
Yeah, in fact, some of them are very, very negative.
They are
far
very
from
negative.
glowing.
They're saying it's actually worse than the second half of Luke Cage, which is quite surprising because the second half of Luke Cage wasn't very good at all.
No, it wasn't. And this makes me really sad because Jessica Jones and Daredevil had us so hyped for what was going to be a great television universe, and now it looks like they're fumbling at the last minute.
And the worst part is that because we're so excited to see the Defenders come together, we really have to watch this series because it's the last step before that film. So you can't really skip over this because it is vital to the introduction of the Defenders.
Well, with any luck, the latter half of the series is better because it's only the first 6 episodes that have been reviewed.
Correct. But they are saying it's horrendous. Yeah, I mean, and the first 6 episodes are so important to setting everything up. So if they're bad, I don't want to think about it. I was really excited for this. And the producers have come out and said as well, which, could be all bullshit because they want you to make you wait and see it. But we won't even get to see Iron Fist in his suit.
What?
Yeah. At least at Daredevil, we got to see it at the end.
Yeah.
But apparently he won't be suiting up in this film.
His suit's so cool.
Sorry, TV show. I know.
Yeah.
I know. So
mistake after mistake.
Disappointing. But in positive news for Marvel this week, Logan is doing absolutely gangbusters, not only critically but at the box office as well.
Yeah.
I think as of today, it actually grossed over 100 million at the US box office and over 300 million at worldwide box office. So we're looking at real domination by Deadpool and Logan for Fox Studios.
And that's the thing about this movie. It's not just doing well in the box office. It's also very critically acclaimed. Every review I read of it is talking about how it's just a really good movie.
Yeah, it is. And I actually got to see it yesterday. I came back from my trip on Wednesday night and went to see it Thursday. That's how excited I was to see it. And it definitely deserves all the hype that it gets.
We'll do our joint review at the end.
Yes.
Yes, beautiful. But I just love. I was watching an interview with Hugh Jackman, and he was saying that he got this idea. He wanted to do a wrestler style, Wolverine, somebody who's just like getting the shit kicked out of him the whole time. And he woke up at 4 a.m. with this idea, and he called James Mangold, who's the director and writer, and said, "All right, you just make it happen." How cool is it that Hugh Jackman just calls, he's like, "I've got this cool idea for Wolverine, just make it happen." Like that's how a movie like this gets made, with strong vision, not with a studio just trying to work out what the next trend is going to be.
Correct. Well, as I said, we've spoken about this, and I've mentioned it so many times that studios really just hire puppets to make films, and they're not letting filmmakers make films. And with this film, they let a filmmaker make a film, and it just turned out perfect.
Yeah, good job, Hugh. Good job, James,
for that character.
Mm.
But the disappointing part for me is that in the US they screened a Deadpool 2 teaser trailer, which I think is on our Facebook page.
Yep.
But here in Australia, we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, which is bullshit, can I just say?
They actually did the right thing because someone posted a video cam job of it online, and then Fox Studios came out and released the HD one.
I'm putting my money on it was Ryan Reynolds again who did the leaking, because it worked so well for him the first time around with Deadpool.
Well, I don't know if you saw the leak version, but I think the guy was recording it with his phone in a vertical mode, so you only saw half the screen. If you turn the phone the other way, dickhead, you actually get to see the whole screen. So.
Okay, maybe it wasn't him then.
No, I don't think it was Ryan Reynolds on this one. But the trailer itself was actually pretty good. It was a parody of Superman, where basically Deadpool's walking down a street, he hears a cry for help, he runs into a phone booth, and he's taking at least 2 minutes to try and get changed into his costume, and in that time, the poor guy has been shot and has been killed.
He even makes a call while he's doing it.
That's right. And Stan Lee makes a nice cameo in this one as well.
You've got to see it. There's also some other cool stuff. There's a bunch of posters for Firefly, the television series.
Yeah.
Which starred, oh gosh, I can't remember her name now. Who is the love interest?
I can't remember, but I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think it even had a poster for Logan in the background too.
Well, I think it was the cinema showing Logan.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, as I said, it's just so disappointing now that these two characters aren't going to meet.
Yeah, I know. Well, look, it is the cinematic universe. Who knows what's going to happen?
It is. It's true. Like he says that now that he's not going to do another one, but who knows?
Marina Baccarin, by the way.
With all the money these two films are making, it is pretty fair to say that it might be in the works.
I would actually love to see it in a Deadpool film.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah, where Wolverine crosses over and then he has to put up a Deadpool shit. Like that seems like a cool film.
I think after seeing Logan, you can't take that tone, or you can't put Deadpool into that tone of film. So if we can go back, because this film, Logan, was set 29 years after the events of, I think, the last film from memory. Yeah. So there's a lot of gap to fill. So there's no reason why the Deadpool doesn't necessarily happen in that time frame.
And let's be honest, like the next film, Cable is going to be in it. So you assume there's going to be time travel shenanigans.
Yeah.
So anything could friggin' happen. Let's be honest.
Yes. But it's something that we're both very excited about. And with the success of now Deadpool and Logan, which were R-rated in the US and MA-rated here in Australia, DC now have got a hard-on for, maybe we can turn it around with our films and produce an R-rated film. And then there were talks the last couple of days that there might be an R-rated version of Wonder Woman released when it's brought out to the home on Blu-ray and streaming. Yeah, so it's quite interesting that they could say it now when the film is heavily into post-production. Like, is there a lot of footage that aren't making it? Is there a lot of F-bombs from Wonder Woman? I don't know.
They're just going to do some ADR at the end.
Yeah, possibly.
She's giving her big speech, her big kind of like, let's storm the trenches speech, and at the end they just have her say, fuck. We've got our R, yes.
Yeah, so, I think it's more of a knee-jerk reaction from DC. If you're going to do it, I would love to see an R-rated Batman film or an M-rated Batman film. That would be insane, considering that Deathstroke is in it and the violence that he could bring with his swords. But who knows? I think they're more just, as I said, as you mentioned before, following a trend because all of a sudden there's been 2 hits on the works.
Imagine the love and the care that went into the Logan movie going into a Batman movie.
Yeah.
It would be the greatest Batman film ever, I think. Greater than The Dark Knight, which is saying something.
Well, considering you don't like it anyway.
I like The Dark Knight.
No, you don't like The Dark Knight. You've gone on record on this show many times saying how many
there are issues with it. It's not a perfect movie.
No one's saying it is.
It's probably the best Batman movie.
Okay, well, We've gone over this many a time.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with you again.
Our friendship couldn't handle it.
No, that's right. All right. Well, an actor who is part of the DCEU, Jason Momoa, is set to star in Brad Payton's new film based on the video game Just Cause. Now, I haven't played this game myself, but after seeing some pictures, you could see Jason Momoa as that character.
Yeah, I think so. I'm like you, I haven't played it. I've got a lot of friends who have played it and love it. I would be interested to see how well, because it's very open world.
Yeah.
So transferring that to a film will be interesting. But, it'll be. I would imagine it's going to be a very Michael Bay kind of movie, because one of the premises of the film is you can go anywhere, blow anything up, and that's what people love to do. You see a lot of the highlights from this series is just people blowing things up in the most interesting ways possible.
Well, this director, Brad Payton, he worked with The Rock on his last 3 films, so I think they wanted The Rock, but his schedule is pretty filled up, so they pretty much
the
got
poor
the
man's
next...
Rock, you reckon?
Correct. They pretty much just got like the next guy with the biggest muscles who can semi-act, and that's Jason Momoa.
And it's a shame that he could do it, because after him they were going to go to me. So it's a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. So he's just made the Rampage movie, which is in pre-production now. And then after that, it's going to be the Just Cause. So I think it's still a couple of years away.
Yeah, I'm excited for Rampage, though.
But there was talk this week that in 2019 is when we're going to be seeing the next Indiana Jones film, Part 5.
Which is just astonishing.
It is just astonishing. Like, that's still 2 years from now. Harrison Ford is in his 70s.
Keep him away from aeroplanes, please.
Exactly. He's got a lot of flights to do between now and then, and there's no guarantees that he'll even be around at that stage.
And away from Kylo.
So after the last film, I was hoping that they would kind of leave this alone, but I guess with the success of The Force Awakens and the Han Solo character, maybe they thought there's still life in this character.
Yeah, they're just going to wring that for everything they possibly can. And in all sincerity, I think Harrison Ford is getting quite cynical in his old age, so he doesn't have the same romanticism for the character that we might.
Yeah.
So he's just happy to go along with it, I think.
Well, the good thing is that George Lucas isn't involved again. So as part of the sale of everything to Star Wars, to Disney, sorry, with the Star Wars and LucasArts, this falls under that.
But was the last film Disney?
Producing. No, it wasn't.
Ah, okay, so it could be awesome.
Yeah, George Lucas wrote that.
Yeah.
Which says a lot.
Poor George. I know you listen, George. I'm sorry, but you got to face facts, man.
Yeah.
So actually, that makes me more excited for this prospect then.
Yeah. So if the producers of the Star Wars universe are going to be producing the Indiana Jones, I don't know, will you call it a rebirth? I'm guessing there has to be some type of handover now.
Oh yeah, just get Shia back.
Yeah, no, don't get Shia back. If they're going to, as I said, this would have to be a handover to build a franchise again for Disney.
If that's what they wanted to do, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe Shia got killed off and Indiana Jones had another son somewhere. So, fingers crossed.
You know what? I'm looking at a picture here of Ryan Gosling because I've just got pictures of him just over my walls generally. But I think he could be quite good. I mean, he's getting a bit older now as well, but I think he'd make a great indie.
Yeah, well, speaking of Ryan Gosling, he's going to be in a film called The First Man, which is going to basically tell the story of Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon.
Which is kind of cool. I reckon he's trying to Tom Hanks' career.
Well, but Tom Hanks didn't do a musical, did he? Well, I guess he kind of did some dancing in Big.
He played on the giant piano. That's basically the same thing.
And Tom Hanks looked at his feet then too.
You'll never let that down.
No, I will never let that down.
I think he's really going to go for that all-American kind of because character. Neil Armstrong is very much in that Apollo 13 vein.
Yeah.
And look, good on him. I think he's a fantastic actor, and I'll definitely see this movie.
Well, the good thing is that he's re-teaming with the La La Land director, Damien Chazelle. So, this guy is hot property at the moment, and I'm quite surprised that this is going to be his next film. I thought he would have stayed a little bit smaller rather than going into, such a large film for Universal.
It'd be really interesting if you can't quite let La La Land go, and we get some tap dancing in The First Man. Like the first step on the moon is just a little bit of a, heel ball kick or something.
It's still crazy that this guy is only 32 years old.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's got Hollywood eating out of the palm of his hands. He can do basically whatever he wants.
That could have been us if we made that trolling movie. I'm just saying.
Yeah, probably not. I'm just thinking about it. But if you want to fantasize about it, be my guest.
I do, and often. All right.
All right, well, Ridley Scott has come out and said this week that he anticipates making 6 more Alien films, which is quite astonishing considering that, Neil Blomkamp was supposed to have his go after this next Alien film. He got screwed over big time.
He must feel like Prince Charles, just like forever next in line, but never getting there.
Yeah, he's never getting there. Yeah. As I said, I saw the trailers for the new Alien film at the start of Logan, and it looks fucking awesome on the big screen. So I really hope that he can recapture his early form in the sci-fi genre.
I'm super psyched to see the xenomorphs like writ large on screen, because I never saw Alien or Aliens in the cinema.
Yeah, same.
But also seeing them just like moving about and actually like the stuff that modern CG will be able to do, that makes me really excited.
Well, there was an awesome part in the trailer where we actually get to see one in the daylight. I don't think we've seen one in daylight. It's always been in the dark and hiding in the shadows. So to actually see one out in the wild, and he's trying to smash his head through, or she's trying to smash his head through the spaceship window. It's pretty incredible. So, as I said, he's has the ability to make incredible films, but he has the ability to make fucking really bad films at the same time. So you'd never know which Ridley Scott you're going to get.
Do you reckon he's trying to outdo James Cameron? James Cameron's going, I'm going to make 4 Avatar films. Yeah, and now Ridley's got like, hold my beer, I'm going to fuck you up.
At least James Cameron hasn't put a foot wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Ridley has put a lot of foot wrong in a lot of different directions.
Up my ass. All right, next up.
Next up, Stephen King has come out this week and said that he has seen a screening of It, and he gives it his thumbs up. Now, this has come from a producer who got a text message from a friend who said that Stephen King saw it. So it's not it's not very reliable again. I think the producer put it on Instagram and it was just like, oh, hi, this is so-and-so. Stephen King saw a screening of your thing and he really liked it. I'm like, well,
what he didn't mention, though, it wasn't actually the writer Stephen King. It was just his friend Stefan King.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the actual Stephen King, but someone named Stephen King saw it and gave it a thumbs up, so that was quite good.
And let's be honest, Stephen King has given the green light to all of the adaptations of his books since the dawn of time, and not many of them are stellar. So I'm not really going to take Stephen King's, even if it is him, I'm not going to take his word for truth that it's good.
Realistically, in my opinion, it's only really Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile I thought were very good.
Neither of which are horror,
Exactly, none of them are from the horror franchise that he's known for. So I couldn't really name you a Stephen King horror film that's actually very good.
I didn't mind Dreamcatcher, but that was more for the cast, I think.
Yeah. But in saying that too, a couple of weeks ago we spoke about how they were waiting to see the results of this film, whether they were going to go through with the next one. But there was reports that it might be starting production in March. So who actually knows if this story is true or not? So we kind of look like dicks if it does go into production after we said that they were waiting.
That's I'm sure Stephen will forgive us.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, this week it is International Women's Day a couple of days ago. And we thought it would be a good time to speak about our favourite characters that have appeared in films. Now,
our favourite female characters.
Yes, female characters. Now, as I said, we are quite nerdy and quite into action and sci-fi and everything else. So
you probably guess a few of these,
Yeah, we haven't really gone for the big dramas and the characters that you'll find in those. We've kind of gone for the more badass women in film. So don't write in and say, pretty stereotyping women into just these badass chicks, because we know we are geeks and we do like these.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yes. All right, do you want to start with your number 3?
All right, so my number 3 is Leslie Jones in Ghostbusters. No, not really. Even though even though I do think she did a good job, I just wanted
she
to.
was horrible. The whole cast was horrible.
Oh no, we won't get into that. But I liked some of those performances. But anyway, my number 3 is the first, probably the first badass woman that I saw on screen, which is Ellen Ripley.
Yeah.
We've already talked about Aliens this show, but I can remember definitively the first time I watched Aliens. My mum bought it home on VHS. She used to work at Brash's, and we watched that. And I remember the head being pushed up by the gun and then the eyes flicking open and losing 5 years of my life. But Ripley as a character is just... this was before a time when I didn't know that girls were supposed to be badasses. She was just an amazing character. And not just about being the roughest and the toughest, but just going through a real arc and having sincere emotion and being able to push through and the courage. And it was just... And fantastic lines as well. So Ripley for number 3.
It was good actually because if you think about that time, you had like the Schwarzeneggers, you had the Stallones, you had the Bruce Willises, who were these big action heroes, and there's no reason why they couldn't gone down that path with having a male lead. But the producers and the writers took a risk, and they really created an icon in action sci-fi, history.
Oh yeah,
in my opinion.
And a template for so many others to follow.
Yeah, that's right.
And for the end of time, people will be quoting, "Get away from her, you bitch."
That's right. And that's hard to do. I mean, there's so many films and there's so many moments, and if you can capture one that people remember, you've done a great job.
She's good. I want to watch it again now.
Sigourney Weaver is just a badass in everything that she is. She's awesome.
And she's played everything. Like, she's just done so many different characters, so many different roles, and she's so good at it. She should have been so much... I mean, she's had a great career, but... she should be Meryl Streep level.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. There's no reason why she couldn't be at the top echelon now of female actresses or actors. All right, my number 3 is Clarice Starling from Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, good choice.
This was realistic. Like, Jodie Foster has been around for a long time. She was a great child actor in The Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's film. And she kind of done a lot, and then she kind of re-emerged again as Clarice Starling in Silence of the Lambs, and this role actually landed her the Academy Award as well. And she played this brilliant, ambitious, and quite vulnerable character. She's been thrown into this case as a young recruit by the FBI, and to go head-to-toe with Dr. Hannibal Lecter and then come out on top, it's fantastic to see.
I really love their relationship in that movie.
Yeah.
The two of Anthony Hopkins and her just are amazing together in it.
Yeah.
And I think that you brought up the vulnerability. That is, I never really thought about that before, but that really is something that sets her apart.
Yeah, it does. Like, as much as Hannibal Lecter pushes, she's able to absorb that, and then you see her gradually push back, and she grows stronger throughout the film, and the influence on Hector on her kind of comes out in her strength as well. So, that's why I think she's in my top 3.
Yeah, great choice.
Your number 2.
My number 2, and this was, even though I said that Ripley was the original badass woman for me, and she totally was one of the original badasses, forget the fact that she's a woman. This next one was someone that I knew of earlier but didn't appreciate until later, and that was Princess Leia. Because she's a character who was doing all of those awesome things, and not just, they weren't making a point of it, oh, look, she's a girl doing, shooting stormtroopers and doing all that kind of stuff. She was just part of the gang. Seeing her progression, and then in the latest film as well, has just been, a big part of, I think, all of our lives. Yeah. So Princess Leia, and just the iconic, I mean, all you have to do is hold a bagel to your head and everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
Calling people scruffy nerve herders. Like, she's just such sass, such wit. And, she really was. When people think of her, they say she's a princess, yes, but she was also a general. And I think that holds true. She was a really awesome character.
And she became this pop culture icon, and she became this icon for all the right reasons. It wasn't just for her looks or the way she looked in Return of the Jedi in the bikini. It was she was a fantastic character who, again, at the time, hadn't really been seen on a big screen. So she really stood up for herself, and she didn't need a male to save her per se, and it was a fantastic role model for, I reckon, girls of that generation.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the bikini, which, you could say was quite gratuitous, but what does she do in it? She fucking strangles Jabba the Hutt with her
Correct.
own chain. Like,
Yeah.
she's a badass.
She's a badass. All right, and speaking of badasses, this has to be one of the top three of all time, and that is Sarah Connor from the Terminator films.
Yes, definitely.
She's played by Linda Hamilton, and when we first meet her, she's just basically a waitress, a single waitress, hasn't got a lot going on in her life, when all of a sudden, she becomes a target from a future assassin because she's about to get impregnated with basically the leader of the
Future Jesus.
correct. And the great part about this is that this is another character who grows from just an ordinary woman into this strong, badass woman, self-sufficient and loyal to the cause of what's going to happen. She believes so strongly in what's about to happen in the world that she'll do anything to protect her son. And being, fathers ourselves, and obviously when we saw them, we had no idea about parenting, but, it doesn't matter if your child is going to be, the future leader of the resilience. It doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to protect your child, and you're always going to go to whatever lengths it is to make sure they are safe.
Yep. Funnily enough, we're doing character arcs in my Year 10 class at the moment, and I brought up Sarah Connor just the other day to explain, because her progress is just fantastic. That first time you really see her in Terminator 2 compared to how she starts in Terminator 1 is just worlds apart, but it makes complete sense as to where she is. And particularly Clara, she still has a vulnerability. She's not just machismo, can do anything kind of Mary Sue character that, again, some of the other action figures that were coming out at that time were. She had flaws, and that makes her such an interesting, well-rounded character.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, like in Terminator 2, we find her in an asylum, and it could have been very easily for her just to concede defeat and just give in and say, yeah, it's all bullshit. But she didn't. Yep. She kept to her guns, and she made sure that her son was protected.
Yeah. Oh, when she went out to kill Dyson, Dylan? Yeah,
exactly.
Like that. But she learns from that. She goes to do it, and then she ends up working with him to end up being the bad guy. So that's a cool character.
Yes. All right, your number one.
My number one is a character I know that we both like, and she's just one of my favorite characters of all time, and she's the one that I came to the latest, but she's bloody awesome, and that's Marge Gunderson from the film Fargo.
Yeah.
Who just has to be one of the greatest cops ever put on film.
Yeah.
For breaking stereotypes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best part was if you haven't seen Fargo, make sure you go and watch it. It's absolutely brilliant. Check it out. But she does everything while she's so heavily pregnant as well, which is just even more incredible.
Yeah, and she just nails that what they call the Minnesota Nice.
Yeah.
And just the scene that she has with William H. Macy when she's just asking questions, not really interrogating, but the way that she politely works her way through his defenses is just fantastic storytelling, and she just plays it. Frances McDormand plays it to a friggin' T.
Yeah, and she won an Academy Award for that as well.
And well friggin' deserved.
Yeah. As you said, you just can't not help but fall in love with this character. Everything she does, she just does it with this charm, and always has a smile on her face, even though she knows that you're a bad person. She'll just pry that information off you with that smile on your face.
I just can't think of another cop that I've more been rooting for in a film than her.
Yeah.
And just her final little monologue at the end there is just... It's the perfect end to her journey. Yeah. If you haven't seen Fargo, go and check it out. You will fall in love with this character. She is such a super lady.
I don't know if you've seen it, but have you seen the TV show Fargo?
I've seen the first episode of the first season. Okay. It's a bit, it's good.
Trust me, it is fantastic. The first season is brilliant, and then the second season, it just goes in a completely different direction, and absolutely brilliant as well. So if you haven't seen the film, watch the film first. The TV show doesn't necessarily tie into the film. You get little references here and there, but the TV show is absolutely brilliant.
Beautiful.
All right, my number one, and I was tossing up between Sarah Connor and this one, but I pretty much can't go past The Bride from Kill Bill Volume 1 and Uma Thurman basically wakes up from a coma, and the film is basically her self-discovery and vengeance as she slaughters the 5 people that tried to kill her.
Yeah.
And obviously, and then finding a daughter that she didn't even know that she had.
These films are in my top 5, and Beatrix Kiddo, the character, again, an awesome journey going from revenge to, in the last sort of half an hour, finding out about her child and the emotional roller coaster that she goes through there. Uma Thurman is a powerhouse in this film in so many ways.
And like the first scene when you've got the where she basically towers through all those, what would you call them? You wouldn't call them ninjas.
The Crazy 88.
Yeah, the Crazy 88. And she just absolutely slaughters every single one of them. And she's basically... The story is that she was part of a team of assassins, and then they all... who was in love with the leader, Bill. And then I think Bill gets her knocked up, and then they have her killed. And then she wakes up, because she's not dead, she was in a coma, and then she seeks vengeance on all of the characters. And the way that she goes through every single one of them, and the way every single one of those characters gets killed is so unique. It is fantastic, and she is my all-time favorite female character.
The scenes at the end with her scenes with Bill, and the fight. There's this moment right towards the end where I'm not really spoiling anything by saying this, where she's laughing and crying at the same time. Is just like every time I watch this movie, and I've seen it a bunch of times, it gets me every single time because she's just amazing. Yeah,
it was hard for me. I was tossing up between her and Halle Berry's Catwoman, who was also so inspirational.
She taught me how to play basketball.
In the end, I had to go with Uma.
No, I think that was a good choice. Yeah. Sorry, Halle.
Yeah, you're out. So they're our individual top 3 female characters of all time in film. All right, well, this week was the massive release of Kong, Skull Island, and it's been a while since we've both watched a film on the opening day and get to speak about it at the same time. Now...
Did you want to do Logan first and then Kong?
Yeah, if you want to, we'll do... we'll leave Logan because that's going to be a spoiler one, so we'll start with Kong.
Good call.
All right, now, I actually really enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, it's not a great film, but the scenes where Kong are involved are absolutely spectacular.
Kong is the star, yeah.
He is the star. Unfortunately, he's probably not in it as much as I would have liked. They could have just called this film Skull Island and then featured Kong.
Featuring Kong.
It was a bit puffy in the middle, but as I said, the spectacle of it I thought was really good, and I think it's worth the price of admission. I believe you don't believe that. I
would see, if you're going to see this film, definitely see it in the cinema because it is visually really impressive. From the cinematography and the direction, we'll talk about the direction actually in a little bit, but the cinematography in particular was really nice. And I'm just trying to work out who that was, but that's all right. But the director, Jordan Vogt-Roberts, I think he's got some issues as far as pacing the story.
Yeah.
I think there were things that were rushed over which needed to had more time dealt with them. And there were some things that were just held for too long, which added nothing to the story. The story, for my mind, was very haphazard throughout. It seemed to me like it was a bunch of, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Wouldn't it be cool if this happened? And now let's try and string together a story to just have those little things come together.
Look, I think the director is very talented, and he actually reminds me of a young Zack Snyder. He has the kind of style and the way he uses close-ups and slow-mo kind of reminded me of Zack Snyder a lot. As you said, it's his first real big film, and I think there was issues with the pacing and the story. As I said, the middle of the film is quite puffy, and you could have chopped out, a good 15 minutes of it. Wasn't really necessary. We kind of, they tried to reach for things emotionally, but didn't really hit the targets, in my opinion. I won't talk about those. I don't want to give away any spoilers. But as I said to you, if you're a fan of Kong And I'm actually glad that they didn't use the same story tropes from other Kong films in this one.
No.
They kind of hinted at them, but they didn't go down that way, which I thought was quite good. And now, basically, there is a connection between this film and a couple of years ago, the Godzilla film. There is a scene at the end of the credits where basically joins those two films together.
Yeah.
So how they bring that together, because that was set in the 70s, the Godzilla film was set in the present from memory. So how they bridge that 40-year gap, I'm not sure. But it will be very interesting to see.
I think there are some things they set up in this film which will allow that bridging to happen, but I am also interested to see. Now, the cinematographer, I just looked him up, Larry Fong was the cinematographer, and like I said, he did a really fantastic job in this film. He also did the cinematography for Batman v Superman, Super 8, and 300. So the guy definitely knows what he's doing. I mean, regardless of what you thought of Batman v Superman, the cinematography was on point.
Zack Snyder link. I didn't realize that he'd worked with him.
There you go. So look, I would see this film in the cinema. I think it's worthwhile, but yeah, don't go in expecting War and Peace. Just like it for the happy visuals, and don't think you're going to get much depth from the characters because they're all pretty cardboard cutout-ish.
Look, they set them up well, and then they just kind of left them. They didn't go back to the tropes that they were setting up at the start of the film, which was quite disappointing. So
I don't think any character has any development at all.
No, well, I'll speak of one, Tom Hiddleston's character. They basically pay this man a lot of money because he's a good tracker. Now, they said that at the start of the film, but they rarely went to his tracking skills at all. No. He was just kind of there on the island because he looks pretty.
There was one thing he did in the film. I can't remember what it was, but he was doing the classic kneeling on the ground looking at something that trackers do. And it stood out to me. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's a tracker. And then he didn't do anything else for the whole film. Correct. So, yeah, there was very little character. As you say, they set them up with these motivations and interesting characters, but as soon as they get to the island, it's just all gone.
Yeah. The cast itself was actually a really good ensemble. You got Tom Hiddleston, Samuel Jackson, Brie Larson, John Goodman, and you've got a lot of John C. Reilly, which for me was the standout. I actually enjoyed his character a lot. And then you've got a lot of familiar faces from, say, the B-grade tier of this film. But they really got a good cast together. They kind of probably didn't use them to their strengths. But as I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a great spectacle, but not a great film.
I consider this might be Tom Hiddleston's audition for Bond.
Yeah, possibly.
After seeing this film, I could really see him as a Bond, I've got to say.
Well, it'll be quite interesting to see because obviously Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, who we haven't seen yet, but she is part of the Marvel Universe. So you would think that they've got, contracts in store for them to be franchise players in that world.
Yeah, good point.
And now they're going to be, with the connection to Godzilla and how they bridge the gap, I'm not sure. But you would think that they are going to be part of this franchise going forward.
That might be the new Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence it couple for a while.
Yeah. I love Brie Larson and she's fantastic.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I think she was pretty wasted in this film. She didn't really give anything, to my opinion.
No, her character... And they try to do the Mae West kind of connection thing, but it falls quite flat.
Yeah. So for me, I'll give this film, say, a 3.5.
Yeah, I'd give it a 2.5. It was average.
Yeah. As I said, I just gave him more points because I love the spectacle of it. I thought the visual effects were amazing. I loved the stylish slow-mo that was used. I'm a sucker for that for some reason. I don't know.
If you like Apocalypse Now, you'll love this film.
Yeah, and the helicopter scenes are truly impressive.
They are cool.
Yeah. All right, now to jump onto Logan. I was quite lucky because I've never done this before, but I actually watched 2 films back to back, and it was fucking awesome. So I was able to watch Logan straight after Kong, and wow, this film is an instant classic.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. Are we going to go into spoilers now? Or?
Yeah, we will go into spoilers. So there's nothing else after this discussion. So if you don't want to hear spoilers regarding Logan, turn away now, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, so now that they're gone, losers, haven't seen the movie, give me some spoilery thoughts.
As I said, I thought it was an absolute classic bookend to the Logan story and the Logan character. Well, Hugh Jackman's take on the Logan character.
Yeah, well, I thought this was like, as I said in my review last week, this was the first time I really felt that he was Wolverine. I
Yeah.
thought his acting, it's some of the best acting I've seen out of him.
Well, the last two Wolverine films, which I've spoken about before, I fucking hated. And this one, as you said, hands down, it's his greatest performance. Unfortunately, he probably won't get recognized anywhere. But this is one for the ages.
Yeah, I don't think he needs that recognition though. I think just for the bits and pieces that I've seen him talking about this movie, he really did this for himself because he saw something in this character that he wanted to explore, and this film was his vehicle to explore that. And as I said, if all of those other Wolverine films were what was needed to make this happen, it was well worthwhile.
Well,
Do
massive,
you?
massive props to the studio for letting them make this film because this is nothing like anything that they've done with either the X-Men franchise or the Fantastic Four franchise. This is a heavily grounded comic book film, and you get that straight away from the opening sequence. And good on them for making it R-rated as well, because if you were to shy away from the violence of this film, I don't think it would have had the same impact.
Yeah, like for example, the and this is definitely spoilery. At the end of the film, when I can't remember his name, Richard E. Grant's character,
the Doctor
is laying down his plan about everything that he did. Before he even gets through the plan, Wolverine shot him, and just straight up killed him. Like you would not get that in any other film, but it worked so well here because it was so abrupt.
Yeah, and it was so good because he knew that he didn't have much longer, Wolverine, and the metal that was surrounding his bones was killing him. And,
I love that touch.
The fact that he wasn't healing as fast as he used to, and his claws didn't come out as far as they used to.
That bit was brutal, and he's like pulling the claw out.
Yes. It's just those types of details, and as we said before, they actually let a filmmaker make a film. Like, they just didn't get someone to make a movie. They actually made a film, which is something that hasn't really been done since the Dark Knight trilogy, in my opinion, in a comic book franchise.
What did you think of the death of Xavier?
Yeah, it was quite surprising, actually. When it happened, I'm like, is this a dream sequence?
Yeah.
And then, as I said, you're just trying to work your way around it, and then obviously you get the realization that they've created a weapon, X-24, which is basically Wolverine without a conscience. He's just a killing machine.
It was awesome.
It was, and I felt really sad for Patrick Stewart's character, Xavier, because he's got dementia and he can't control what was his strengths anymore. And he's quite vulnerable to everyone around him. And he's like a nuclear bomb just waiting to explode at any time, and he can't control it. And, that vulnerability, as I said, it's just, you don't see this in this industry or in this franchise of films, comic book films.
But also,
and performance was beautiful too.
Yeah, he was friggin' amazing. When he's talking about that scene where he's stabbed by evil Wolverine, and he's like that awesome monologue he has while he's laying in bed, saying about how happy he is now, but how he doesn't deserve it because he, accidentally killed all those people before. Like, you could never have that in an Avengers or, a Doctor Strange or anything like that. Not that they're not great films, but this just showed where you can go with this genre, and it's beautiful, and he did a beautiful job.
But even the simple things like Wolverine or Logan having to carry him and take him to the toilet, those types of vulnerabilities, like you wouldn't expect to see that type of detail in a comic book film, and that's why, as I said, the comic book movie, where this is a comic book film, in my opinion.
Ooh, that's good. I like that distinction.
And there's actually something that I never expected to see in this film. 3 things, actually. I never expected to see the amount of violence that we saw, which was fucking awesome. I never expected to see Charles Xavier drop as many F-bombs as he did. And I never expected to see a pair of tits in a Logan film.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This is something that we've never seen before. And as I said, the fact that the film was so grounded and brought down to earth, and it didn't have anything from the X-Men films that we've seen before. It just looked like the world we live in now. It could happen.
That opening scene where the guys are coming to try and steal his hubcaps just really set the tone for this movie. I thought that was a fantastic entryway, how he's like diving in front of the bullets to protect the car.
Yeah.
And then finally when one gets through is when he goes berserkery and starts owning people, and again, this is the thing you don't see. He's stumbling back to the car afterwards, like stepping over the people he's just murdered. That's just incredible. They definitely didn't shy away from the blood in this one like they have in the past.
And a spoiler, but there was an article today, and I forgot to tag you in it. Someone's in the last Wolverine film. He has an interaction with this character, and the character says, "You're gonna die with your heart." Oh, sorry, I see you dead, covered in blood, with your heart in your hand. And the guy put the screenshot of it with the dialogue, and then he posted this to Twitter and tagged James Mangold, and he died holding his daughter's hand.
Yeah.
And James Mangold said, "Correct, that was 100% correct, and you're the first person who said that." And
that's so nice.
Exactly. So the fact that it tied into the last film, and the last film they actually spoke about how he was going to die, and then they actually made it happen in this film was fantastic.
I mean, let's be honest, the line in the last film was probably just because it sounded cool. But the fact that they could tie it into this film is really impressive. And that death scene was totally worth it. They really earned their touching moments in this movie.
Yeah. The connection between Logan and X-23 was fantastic, especially the way how he kind of resented her to start with.
Yeah.
He didn't want to let her in. And then, he says at the end, this is what love really feels like, and it's the connection that you have with a child that until you have a child you don't really know what the love is, and the fact that he was able to realize that while he was dying and he got to experience that was pretty special.
And Daphne King, who played Laura, friggin' killed it.
Yeah, she was awesome. It's incredible where they're finding all these child actors. The performances they're getting out of kids these days is incredible. I love the fact as well that there were comic books relating to the X-Men and some of the adventures they went on. I thought that was so cool. And basically they weren't our comic books. They were comic books in that world. So, it wasn't like issues that we've seen before. It's actually I was reading today, the comic books were created for the film and based on adventures that the X-Men had gone on as part of that franchise. So that was really cool as well. It's just that level of detail that we're talking about that makes this film so special.
What did you think of Pierce Boyd Holbrook?
Yeah, he was really good. As I said, I've seen him before in Narcos, and he was awesome in that. I tell you who I really liked was Stephen Merchant. I wasn't expecting him to actually have that, I wouldn't say slapstick, but kind of that comedic relief role in the film. I actually thought he was going to be a lot more serious and a lot more villainous, but because I didn't know much about his character. Yeah, no, that's right. It was really cool, and it wasn't overdone. And I love Stephen Merchant, and to see him in this type of film is quite weird, but it was very good at the same time.
And it makes you not expect his death.
No, that's right.
At all.
Yeah.
You know what, though? There is one thing that kind of makes me consider their thinking about what to do next, because they recover his body, and Dr. Rice, the bad guy, is walking past his body and says, "I'll make sure you hold on to this one," because he's got tracking capabilities and stuff. And that's an interesting scene to throw in if you weren't expecting to use it again later on.
Yeah, this is true. But what happens from now, I've got no idea.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. Have they completely closed the book on that character? I actually thought that he might have survived and he might have become like the Charles Xavier to the new bunch of mutants.
Yeah.
I actually thought it might have gone down that route. So, even though he was dying and maybe there was going to be something that healed him, but I'm actually glad that they did what they did.
Yeah. And look, who knows what's going to happen? It's timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. I'd love to see X-23. I'd like to see Laura. I'd like to see an adult female Wolverine and her adventures to not become what they want her to be, which is what Wolverine said to her right at the end. I think that would be a cool story. And I would love to see her wearing the Wolverine uniform as the costume as a tribute to, even though that Wolverine never wore that, the whiskers and the yellow suit. I'd love to see her doing that, like drawing from the comics, as in taking on the man that he could have been, like the straight hero.
Well, there was a really cool detail. One of the kids was actually holding a Wolverine figure as well, which I thought was very cool too. And the fact that they shaved his goatee, so he had basically the big mutton chops on the
Yes.
sides to make him look like the comic book version.
That's
So,
nice.
as I said, it was just filled with so many little details that makes you appreciate this film a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
You can tell that they were heavily invested in this character, both Hugh Jackman and James Mangold, and Patrick Stewart as well. They were just, it was the perfect swan song for both of them.
Yeah, well, good job. I'm glad you really enjoyed it. It makes me happy when I hear people enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, no, it's good. I don't think anyone could be disappointed. If you're fans of the franchise, I can't see you being disappointed of this film.
Are we going to do quick spoilers for Kong?
Well, if you want to, if there's something you want to get off your chest.
I just didn't really dig Samuel L. Jackson's character. I thought it was really forced drama.
Yeah,
I get what they were trying to do with, like, the man who wanted to go to one last battle.
I don't think it was more that. I think he just wanted vengeance of all the soldiers, his men that he lost.
Well, see, that's the thing. But they set up when he's in Vietnam, like, oh, what am I going to do now? It would have been cool if instead of being like this kind of morose, I've got to take revenge on this ape, like, because he would have seen heaps of people die as part of his leading his squad. Rather, it would have been, no, this is my last big battle. I've got to do this for...
Yeah, but when he's at war, at least he's got something to take out his vent and frustration on and his vengeance on, where, he's got this fucking huge ape that he can't basically penetrate with any bullet, and so he has to try something to try get his vengeance. But as we said, the characters weren't very fleshed out at all.
No. I'm quite interested. They hint at the Hollow Earth theory, which is such a cool idea that you can just say, well, we can have these giant creatures and they just live underground. I think that's a very clever idea. So they could pull literally anything from underground and it would make sense.
Yes. All right, well, that wraps up episode 6 of Not Another Movie Podcast. I am Sean Pierce.
And I am Sean Kelly.
And let your week be a good week until next week.
You got a bit sassy there at the end.
Trying to bring the sexy to the podcast.